Welcome back to Just the Truth, and we're continuing this conversation about the top trending headlines, and I'm very excited to have back on the program Erin Withe, the CEO of the Freedom Foundation, to talk about Biden's family plan and why this should concern all of us as Americans, who, the few of us who tuned in to Biden's address to Congress, but everyone who's concerned about his radical leftist policy. So Erin, thanks so much for being back with me here on Just the Truth.
Thanks for having me back, Jenna. Thanks for covering the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the American Families Plan and what this actually means in terms of what Biden is proposing.
It's part of Biden's radical agenda, and it's part of his way to pay back government unions as well. What Biden's proposing here is basically taking care of people from the cradle all the way to the grave. And one of those instances is having taxpayers paying for pre-K education as well as community college for students. What that means in reality is that we're going to hire more public employees, more government union members, so these government unions, these teachers unions in particular, can take more union dues from more people and be able to give that money back to Democrats like Joe Biden. It's all about payback here. We at the Freedom Foundation are not against teachers. In fact, my wife is one. A public school teacher. But what we are against is the government monopoly that they have on education. Parents, students should have a choice about where their kids go to school, whether it be private schools, whether it be charter schools. We should not be putting all this taxpayer money into public education. We should be funding the best schools, not the wide array of them.
Yeah, that is such a fascinating insight, I think, that a lot of people are missing when they just look at the surface of this plan and the talking points that sound really good, like, oh, hey, let's provide more of education. But when you use that term provide, well, the resources have to come from somewhere, and that's going to be us, the taxpayer. But then you mentioned, Erin, how this is really just a funnel to then have these teachers' unions give back that money to the Democrat Party. And that's part of the reason that unions in general are such a bad idea, and why there are a lot of lawsuits that are going on and a lot of advocates that are saying, you know, this whole union being able to fund these organizations and require people to join them, you know, all of that discussion is really important. And I think that's an angle that a lot of people aren't really recognizing here. What do you think is the solution to that type of really just funnel from the taxpayer to the Democratic Party?
I think the solution is that we need to educate every single public employee of their rights to opt out of their union, stop paying union dues. That's exactly what we do at the Freedom Foundation, because what happens then is that public employees then make an informed decision about union membership. And when they do that, it holds these unions accountable to their actual membership. Up until now, they've been able to get away with taking radical stances on defund the police and opening the border that most people don't agree with. But because they've been able to take this money from all these public employees and fund Democrats, they can get away with saying what they want. It's only when you tell public employees that they can actually get out of their unions and they can make that informed decision that you can hold them accountable with the dollars. Because otherwise, all they're going to do is they're going to continue to put liberals like Joe Biden into office, who's going to agree to go out, raise taxes on the rest of us, trillions of dollars, by the way. That's going to go down to our grandkids. And then what's going to happen is they're going to be able to hire more public employees, take more money from them, and give people like Joe Biden more money. It's a cycle that we have to stop by telling public employees that they can leave their unions.
Yeah, this is just absolute theft. And, you know, I'm an advocate of repealing the 16th Amendment. I don't think that Congress should have the ability to lay and collect income taxes. I think that they have demonstrated very clearly that they are abusive of that power. When you have administrations like Joe Biden who are recommending these types of ridiculous tax hikes, then that's something that is just a power that is given to Congress by virtue of ratification of the 16th Amendment. But we, the people, can absolutely change that. We can repeal that power from Congress. And I think that's something ultimately that is another solution that we need to present. But also, Erin, I want to talk to you about the impact of the American Families Plan as well on dreamers, because this is a really interesting issue that a lot of Congress members on the Republican side are really concerned with, you know, touching the quote unquote humanitarian aspect of immigration. They don't want to look like they're being bullies. But this family plan also would provide, based on our tax tax dollars, we're having to pay for education of people who are actually in the country illegally.
It's absolutely ludicrous that American taxpayer dollars are going to fund illegal immigrants in this country, regardless of their age. You know, as somebody who immigrated to this country legally and figured out how hard it was and figured out the standard that I have to go to and now provide to society, these people are not only getting a free ride, but they're actually taking taxpayer dollars. And let's not look at every single American like they wouldn't use this money. We have people, I'm here in Olympia, Washington, we have people living on the streets. These taxpayer dollars can be used in a multitude of other places, but Democrats have figured out that these people, if we give them a handout, they're going to vote for Democrats going forward. It's another scandal, and it's another way for them to go out and get votes. They're training the next generation of Democratic voters. And it's the American taxpayer should be outraged by this. But instead, they're voting for these Democrats that are going in and pushing this agenda because they know it's going to mean more votes for them.
Yeah,
People that come here legally, by the way, like me, they end up conservative because when you come here, you realize the value in America and the capitalist society that we have here, that conservatives are progressing, not liberals.
Yes, exactly. And you recognize the importance of freedom and the foundation of the rule of law that we've established here in America. And you came here by choice to participate in our society, not the way that Joe Biden and the Democrat leftists want to say that they're reinventing all of these things. Well, they're reinventing us right out of liberty and freedom. And so, you know, when you look, though, at this, not just being Democrats, but there are also a lot of Republicans. When you look at this tax hike and how much Biden wants to spend, what is it, $2.5 trillion just on the American Families Plan, and yet the Republicans will come back and instead of saying, no, this is ridiculous, absolutely not, and digging their heels in, they'll come up with some sort of compromise. And I think that's just as bad to say, oh, not 2.5 trillion, we'll just give you, you know, maybe a quarter of that. That's still too much.
Yeah, it's absolutely too much. I've been disappointed with a lot of Republicans during COVID and some of the votes that they've taken on the COVID packages and also bills, spending bills now that Biden's in office. It's disappointing to see because, you know, as Republicans, as conservatives, we should really be for not raising taxes on anybody. When you introduce a spending plan, somebody's going to pay for it. And I think conservatives get that, but they're voting on it based on some theory that it's going to be bad for them if they don't.
Right. They don't want to be called, you know, racist or non-humanitarian or all of these other names. And you know what? I really don't care what you what you call me. I will stand firm for conservative values, liberty, and freedom. And I know that Aaron Withe will as well. You're the CEO of the Freedom Foundation. Where can people find you on your website, get engaged in your projects, and on social media?
Freedomfoundation.com is our website. If you're a union member interested in opting out of your union, Opt Out Today is the website to do that. And we're available on all the social media outlets as well.
Yes. Well, thanks so much, Aaron. And I follow you. I think you're doing such fantastic work. Continue to be a champion of freedom. And I wish that more of the people who are in this country understood as clearly as you do why we are all so privileged to live in America. The greatest thing about America is preserving and protecting our freedom and liberty that is given by God, our Creator, and making sure that we hold government to the mandate of a limited power and making sure we're not funding all of their ridiculous ideas. Who are they to say what they want to spend $2.5 trillion on from us? It's absolutely ridiculous. I hope that you follow Aaron Withe and his great project, the Freedom Foundation. We'll be right back here on Just the Truth.